everybody. Lisa Thomas, Executive Director of BNI Melbourne North. Welcome to Network Success Northside Notables. I feel it's really important that we tell our local stories. A lot of the time we go outside of our local area and we look at international people as business owners and entrepreneurs, and we don't necessarily look at our local businesses and all the wonderful things that they're doing as well. So this podcast is telling our local stories. So today I've got Warren Parker from HeadStart Accounting.
Tax and Accounting.
Sorry.
Yes.
And he's been with BNI for quite a while. But tell us a little bit about being an accountant, Warren, because, accountants don't always get the best rap.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's fair to say. I started as an accountant probably because of my love of numbers, and I had two loves at high school in regards to subjects. One was PE and physical education, as all boys do, and the second one was numbers. So probably went down the sporting path and realised I wasn't quite good enough. And when you're not quite good enough, the money doesn't pay too well, zero. Yes. So I decided that numbers was the next option and decided to go to uni and become an accountant. It probably doesn't have as many numbers as what I thought because it's a lot of legal stuff as well in the back end. Probably more bookkeeping would have been probably more ideal for me. But I like what I do. I love helping people, and I love, just helping people. I think is at the end of the day what gives me some satisfaction in doing what we do.
And how long have you had your business for now?
So I started my business since September 2016. I've been an accountant since June 2000. So I've been in it for a long time now, and don't see any change in the foreseeable future.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously must love it, and the fact that you've been in business for so long, you obviously must do a really good job. So what are some of the key services and products that you have? Because most people think of an accountant and they just sort of think, oh, I'll just get my tax done. But there's so much more a good accountant can do for you. So
I suppose as an accountant, you can sort of break it up into two different areas, and accountants can play a massive role in any business. So I think the two key areas are one is compliance and the other is advisory. So compliance would be your tax returns, your BASs, anything that the ATO want you to do by a certain date, and it has a timeline set there. Your super payments, your payroll, all that sort of stuff is all just compliance. And that is probably a majority of what I do on a day-to-day basis. But the second part of it is advisory. So there's a lot of advisory that we do. Just recently, we've been doing a lot of tax planning because it's the end of the year. So we try and help businesses with their cash flow, but also with their tax planning, because you can save a lot of money for people or put them on the right path to build their wealth when you're doing that tax planning. And that is actually probably the most satisfying part of the year, to be honest, because you can save people a lot of money. And, for just a couple of hours, you can save people tens of thousands of dollars in certain cases when there's cash flow. People without cash flow, they can't do much, but with cash flow, there are a few options that are available. So one example was a client came to me just recently and they're paying themselves $45,000 because they're staying in a certain tax threshold. Mm-hmm. But the thought process is they're just saving tax and that's it. There's no thought about themselves as a family group or themselves as an entity as a whole. And no one can live, I don't think, on $45,000 these days when you're running a business.
No, not.
So my first thought is, can you live on $45,000? The answer is no. He can't. So we've got to structure the tax planning around what he needs as a family and as a group as well in the best interest of the client, not just tax minimization. So I think that there's a bit of that we really need to convey to clients, that sometimes it's not all about, I suppose, screwing the tax office for every last cent. It's about, you need to live as well.
Yes.
So I think lifestyle is very important. And so there's lifestyle part to the advisory, ensuring that the clients can live their best lifestyle, but also the business part and making sure that the business thrives and carries on and doesn't pay too much tax.
Yeah.
But a thriving business is always going to pay tax.
Yep.
And I do convey that and say that, you know, if you're running a successful business, you need to actually pay tax.
Yes. Yes. I've heard you say that to me before. But how important is that advisory piece when people have got their business at a certain level and then they've got goals to grow it and expand? How important is your role in helping them reach their goals?
Well, I think it is very important, because you can't do that without planning, without having like a business plan or something in place to help you achieve those goals. Without financial goals and the like, you can't. How do you see yourself getting there if you can't use softwares properly? If you don't understand cash flow, if you don't know when you've got bills that are due, if there's no, foresight in what you're doing, I think you can't. It's very hard to get there. People do get there, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
Whereas if you know that, every quarter you have a BAS, and then the end of the following month you have a payable because of the BAS, and you can start allocating money away for that. And I know personally, as a small business owner, funds are tight, especially when you start, because you're trying to grow the business, you're trying to take money out, you're trying to do this and that. And even personally, probably 18 months ago, I started funneling money away and providing a much better cash flow alternative to how I used to live. So you had a second bank account, and then when that nasty bill comes at the end of each quarter, there's no stress at all now.
Yep.
The money is there. So I think it's about planning for what you're trying to do and understanding how things operate. One of the big things that catches people out is pay-as-you-go installments from the tax office. And when you first start a business, that first year of tax, you don't pay tax because the ATO don't have anything on your business for that first 12 months. But in the second year, once you lodge that first tax return, they want you to start prepaying tax for the second year. But you've also got to pay the tax bill for the first year. So you're paying like 2 lots of tax in the second year, but nothing in the first year. And that catches a lot of people out. So starting up new businesses and making sure that they understand that every dollar that goes into their bank is not actually theirs can sometimes be really difficult. And that's, I suppose, the planning that we can help, especially with new business owners. But a lot of small businesses are inexperienced business owners too. So just helping them, and that's where my expertise is dealing with small businesses, all different types, all different industries of just small business.
Yeah, no, that's great. So a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, when they first start out, they try to do everything themselves as far as their financial side of things. And I'm a big believer in you do what you're good at and you get other people to help you in the areas that it's not your expertise. So when would be a good time for small businesses to start thinking about getting other people involved in the financial side of their business, like accountants, bookkeepers, that sort of thing?
I hear you. And on my notes here, it talks about as a business owner, you wear many hats.
Yes.
So I think when the cash flow is available to do it, but I would look at, let's say a bookkeeper, for instance. I think a really good bookkeeper is paramount to people's businesses, and whether the accountant does the bookkeeping and the accounting, or whether you have separate bookkeeper and accountant, I look at it, and I deal with a lot of tradies, and they might charge, let's say a plumber might charge $80 or $100 an hour. You're paying a bookkeeper $80 an hour, but you're going home doing what a bookkeeper can do in 1 hour takes you 3 or 4 hours.
Yes.
And you're not doing it correctly.
Yeah.
So the bookkeeper comes and fixes it. So I just think even from the start, like we've had a lot of tradie clients and they just stuff it up from the start. So I think if you can justify and you can give the bookkeeper that role from the start, I personally think that's the best option because number one, your software is set up properly. You're probably getting better advice. You're doing something that you can do. I'd rather you go out and do 3 extra hours of work per night or whatever, and then let the bookkeeper do their 1 hour. You're still making 2 hours net income.
Yep.
Whereas you're not getting frustrated because you don't know what you're doing. You're not stuffing it up and you're not creating more work for everyone. So for me, when I'm talking about finance and bookkeeping and accounting, I would suggest from the start would be a good idea.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. We've had conversations on and off for many years, but one of the things I really love what you talk about is that having good clients and working with good people. Now, I know that probably means different things to different people, but do you want to just expand on that a little bit from your philosophy of, working with good people?
Yeah. So working with good people, it could be a range of, it's not just their personality.
Yeah.
It's about the way they pay you, the way they interact with you, the service. Like when you have a meeting with them, you're not worried about where they're going to come from if they're doing anything devious or underhanded. You're not worrying about what's in there, from my point of view, what's in their tax returns that's in there that might be dodgy or something like that. Like I'm an honest and ethical business, and I don't want to be looking over my shoulder at the tax office because my license is my, that's where I earn my
That's
bread.
your livelihood.
It is. And so I want to make sure that my livelihood is going to continue. The ATO do work on they try and keep accountants and tax advisors in check. And so with audits and things like that. So I don't want people looking through all my clients' books by having one audit exposed and there being really dodgy happenings in that book. So, we take our time and make sure that it's done, to the best of our ability. We're not auditors as well, Lisa. So I don't think clients are going to pay us to check every single transaction, but what we are checking for is variations. If things do look a bit different to prior years or something like that, we'll try and investigate further. So I really think that what I'm trying to say is just make sure that you're doing everything diligently and your record keeping is good from the start. And I think that helps any business be able to grow as well, because going back to what I was saying before in regards to working with clients, we need to work with third parties as well. So it needs to be a team result. So we need to work with mortgage brokers and things like that because people want finance.
Yes.
But if they're not making money, they can't get finance. So we need to make sure that we're working with all the other advisors around this client to ensure that we get the best result for the clients.
Yep. And, the whole concept of, sometimes you have to say no. And I think when people first start their business, they just say yes to everybody and just try to work it out afterwards. And then they give themselves a lot of headaches and I think when you get a little bit more experience, you sort of realize, you can actually say no to people if you think that it's not going to be a good fit for you.
Well, I'm going through that exact situation right now, and working with good people, like we've just what we call disengaged the client, which is the person is a nice guy, but when we talk about good people and good clients, nice people aren't necessarily good clients because we have requested information 10 times from this client and he doesn't get us information. So there's so much follow-up and you're keeping them on your system to try and make sure that they meet their compliance obligations and stuff. And if they're not helping and they're putting their head in the sand, then why should we be the one that puts ourselves out all the time when they're not interested. So my thought process has changed a little bit on that. And now it's just, if they're not interested, then really we can't help them.
Yeah.
So, we just literally disengaged someone last week. We gave them a week to respond to the email. They never even came back to us. So that tells me that I think we've made the right decision, and I can sleep easily with that.
Yeah. Yes, it can be empowering saying no sometimes.
100%. And I do feel a lot better. And we have a lot of clients where we do BASs and we'll do 7 or 8 follow-ups. And it's ridiculous the amount of time that you spend on that. And then clients, if we do charge that time, they'll say, why is it so expensive? It was a really easy job. But they don't realize that every time you've got to start that job again, there's, in our field, 1 or 2 units that goes onto the job, because you've got to look and see where you're at and what's missing still. And there's just time that's involved. So we don't want to charge as much as that either. But if you're making us continually do the work, well, there you go.
So takeaway for everybody, get back to your accountants quickly.
Yes, very much so.
All right. So you've been a BNI member for a while now. Do you want to share a little bit about your BNI story and how BNI has helped you or your business over the years?
Yeah, so BNI has been fantastic. What got me into BNI at the start was I was in a St Kilda Road firm, a chartered accounting firm, for about 15 years. I just went in there as a graduate and worked there. Didn't have to do any networking, didn't have to get my own clients. Clients would just come through the door week on week. Went out on my own and I thought, this is a bit different. How do I get clients? So I actually spoke to a mortgage broker, it was, and he said, try BNI and a competitor, which I can't even remember the name, but so I went along to a BNI chapter and I went to a couple of different ones and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I've never heard of it in 17 years of being an accountant. And I thought, this is amazing. So I just tried to join. Being an accountant, every accountant seat's taken.
Yes.
Lucky enough that one of the accountants left in one of the chapters where I was interested in. And I must have been the last accountant, or maybe the last accountant they liked that came in. Could have been, either way. So they called me back and I said yes straight away, and I've been in there for about 8 years. I'm probably a bit shy, a bit introverted. So BNI has been fantastic on the personal development, professional development. Probably not so much technical, but definitely professional as a business owner, because you have business coaches, mentors, yourself, Lisa, who's done a lot of consulting. There's so many people to lean on. In our chapter, we have Maria, who's been in BNI for, 20 years or something. So there's lots of experience. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I take out of BNI is those people. But I think when we strip it back, we all get in there to make money to start with. I think that is number one. That's what we see. And then all these other benefits attached to it. So it does fantastically well for me. One of my biggest clients I've had for about 6 years is a plumber, and I get paid a couple of grand a month for like 6 years. So you can do the numbers there on that. And that was from another plumber in our group. So you don't know where the referrals are coming from or what, but I think, you just keep doing the right thing, you keep being yourself, and they'll slowly build up. But what it's given me is personal development, mostly, I think. Like, I think probably 18 months ago, or maybe, 2 or 3 terms ago.
Yep, you're a president.
You harassed me to become president.
I didn't harass you.
There was no harassment.
I asked you nicely.
Nice harassment. But there was a bit of that, and I would never have accepted, and I think I'd probably turned it down a few times before.
Yes, you had.
Whenever you'd sort of intimated you might want to ask me, I'll sort of straight away no. But we did it, and it was a fantastic growth experience, and I didn't mind it. After the first few sweaty weeks,
yes.
it was pretty good after that. So I actually quite enjoyed it, and I learned
you did a fantastic job.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And so I did learn a lot from that. So we just keep evolving because of BNI. I think one of the core values is learning. lifelong learning, and in my industry, that's what we do as well. And so BNI and the accounting industry, they just move really well in that aspect.
Okay, well, that's great. So what would be your little business tip or something that you would like to share with the business owners that are going to listen to the podcast? What would be something that you could share with them that would help them on their business journey?
Yeah, as a business owner, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, and this is through sport as well, and Lisa, you would have heard me talk about sporting analogies, and with business, it's the same, but it's build a good team around you. And I think that's where these third parties that I talked about, financial planners help my clients, mortgage brokers, even coaches, they all help my clients. So building those people with other successful people, and the clients are so happy, so they then attach themselves even further to you. So I think building a good team, and to be successful like a sporting group, you need a good team. You can't have all just batsmen in cricket or all just bowlers. You've got to have a team.
Yes.
So I think BNI is like that, and business is like that. You've got to have different people in different seats that can make your game go to a new level.
Yeah. Well, they make you look good, don't they?
They make us look good.
If you're recommending them and then they do a good job with your clients, they think that you're amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest thing. And then the second thing is just knowledge. Again, it's about lifelong learning, one of the core values of BNI. And also as I said, what we do in the tax and accounting industry is you're continually learning to improve yourself, to make things better. Because if we stay stagnant, I think we're really going backwards. It's not about staying stagnant. I think we've got to keep learning and improving ourselves.
Well, the world's moving so quickly these days, with all the AI and everything, you've got to keep up with everything. Otherwise, you just get left behind.
Yes, I agree. So that would be the two main things that I would talk about, building the team and keep enhancing your knowledge.
Yep. No, that's fantastic. So we like to end the podcast with your either a good business book that you would recommend or a podcast that you really enjoy. So do you have something that you can share with everybody?
You're talking business, yes?
Business. Well, we've both have been involved in team sports, and I think sometimes you can learn a lot from sport and teams for your business. But yeah, whatever you've got for us, Warren.
Well, I do like some of the profit first stuff. Yep. That was good, and I do like some rental property. 0 to 30 properties, I think, in 12 months or 2 years. I can't remember the exact terminology, but there's also Robert Kiyosaki's investment books as well. So I like all of those from a business point of view, and from a personal point of view, I like how he games actually, which he talks to all sportsmen, and one of the last questions that he talks about is, what would you tell your kids, or something along the lines of, what would you tell your kids is the best way to become successful?
Yep.
And some of the answers that these elite sportsmen give, I think some of them are really just simple things, just work hard and work harder than everyone else. And others are, there's just so many great things that you can take out of these successful people about what they do. And I take it out in regards to business as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, it is a sports podcast generally, but I think you can apply it across your life.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Warren, thank you for coming in today and being part of the podcast. We really appreciate it. And good luck with your business and everything that you do for the region, because you're one of our top performers in the region for BNI. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Lisa, and thank you for everything that you do for BNI, and thank you for being so encouraging week on week, because it is amazing what you do for all the small businesses in the area. So thank you.
Thanks, Warren.